Exo Seals podcast, and we're back with another episode with Supriya Chechi, and we're going to continue our ninth chapter of the Gita, uh, which we are continuing. It's called the most confidential knowledge, right?
Right. Most confidential note. Raji
Alright.
with yeah.
So we are continuing with chapter 4, yeah. Continues.
Okay, thank you. Jai Srila Prabhupada and
Yes,
Hare
sir.
Krishna.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
Happy to be back, Kannan. Yeah, this is verse 4 in chapter 9. We did the previous verse last time. And here, Krishna is continuing to reveal information about himself. And some of it is kind of contradictory and hard to understand. It's a bit esoteric. You see contradictions coming up in the next couple of verses and in this verse. So if you want to read the translation for this
Yeah.
verse 4.
By me in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them.
Okay, so a crucial word here, in my unmanifested form. This entire universe is pervaded. Naturally, I mean, that's because we don't see him standing around in different spots, although he's present in everything and everywhere. The Supreme Lord is present, and he's pervading, like he's all pervasive, and he's pervading the entire universe, both through his spiritual energy and his material energy. Just remember that. So if something is movable or it's like it's moving, that means it's got his spiritual energy. It's got life. If some, including say a tree, it grows, yeah, it sheds leaves. So that's obviously got a spiritual energy. But something that doesn't have life and it's not moving, it's static, that's still Krishna in the form of his material energy. Say chairs that are made from the tree, things that man invents. But where is the energy or the intelligence to invent coming from? Is basically coming from Krishna. So that's the whole point, that he is everywhere and the whole universe, everything is, he pervades everything in his unmanifested form. That means you can't actually see him, but it's there
So
in his subtle, yeah,
it's
energy
it's
form.
it's amazing because today only I was listening to there's this Swami, but he's not in ISKCON. He's from a different actually, but he's
Yeah.
a believes in Krishna, and his name is
Uh-huh.
Swami Mukundananda. Not sure if
Uh-huh.
you know. So he's not from. He's from a different. I think different. Like I think Vaishnava lineage. I think I'm not
He's a
sure.
person with a
Yeah.
long, yeah, I know.
So
Yeah.
he was talking about the story of Draupadi when she was when when her garment was being pulled, and at the time, so when she was like looking at all the Pandavas there assembled, and the Pandavas, like, they had lost the game of dice. So one
Yeah.
time she's looking at Bhimsen lowered his head, Arjuna's lowered his head, and everybody's lost. She looks at Dronacharya, Kripacharya, Bhishma, and she looks at
That's
all of
right.
them,
The
but they're all
elders.
like, they're also not saying and they can't say much. So now she's like, she thinks, okay, now only I'm left, so I'll do something. But what's that? I forgot the name. The person who pulls
Yudhishthir.
her, or the person who pulls her garment. What is his name?
Duryodhan.
No, now is Duryodhan's right hand.
Okay. No, I know. Duryodhan is the master man behind it, but the one who actually, not
I forgot his
Dushasana.
Dushasana, I think. Hmm.
Uh, Gosh, 1 minute.
So, anyways, so basically the point was that when her garment was being pulled, then she realized that she can't do anything anymore, and then she decided she's going to pray to Krishna, and she wants help from Krishna. And when she calls out Krishna, for a moment, like he stops for a moment, and because he says that, at the time when she was praying, Krishna was having a meal with Rukmini in some other place at that time,
Uh-huh,
and
uh-huh,
and then what happened was that as she called out, as she was thinking of Krishna, his like he had frozen in that spot, and he was always waiting for her to call him to come and
uh-huh.
rescue her at that time. And she says, Govinda Dwaraka Vasin. She yells out, and that's
Uh-huh.
basically like, oh Krishna of Govan of
Dwaraka,
Dwaraka,
king of
he's
Dwaraka.
come. please come and rescue me, like that she says. So now it takes a moment, but then Krishna comes. And so then he, that part where her clothes, she tries to pull, but then, the clothes still remain. After all of that, after all of that, Draupadi asks like Krishna, like after that, so why do you take like, why did you come, and why didn't you come rescue me before? You should have come before. So he said, what are you saying? I've come and rescued you and all that. I've come and saved you and all that. So she says, well, when I called out to you, it took you a moment, like you waited for a moment and then you came. So then he says, no, you said no. Actually, the fault was with you because you said Govinda Dwaraka Vasa, which means oh Krishna of Dwaraka. At the time, I wasn't in Dwaraka. I was in some other place. So when you said that, I had to go first to Dwaraka and then I came and rescued you. And so then he says that you don't realize that I'm already in your heart. So you had already called me out because I'm everywhere. I'm in all. I'm in your heart itself. Like everything is me. But if you want to call out to me, that I'm in your heart itself. So you can just call out to me. You don't have to say that I'm from this place, or you just call out to me and I'll get reach you directly. So yeah. So
I
it was.
understand. Yeah.
I was listening this today. Yes.
Yeah, it is Dushasan Kannan because that's
Ah,
why
Dusha.
Bhishma makes a vow that he will break Dushasan's thigh and pull out his heart and drink his blood and all kinds of gory things like this as in retaliation for the insult. What I've heard is that when Draupadi is desperate, until a point she's still trying to defend her dignity by with one hand she's trying to hold back the ropes that are being pulled off and the other hand she's calling out to Krishna. Then there comes a point when she sees she's helpless and powerless and both hands are out. She doesn't even try to come to cover up her honor or her shame or awkwardness. She just puts both her hands out and that Krishna was actually waiting for that moment. And
Ah,
this is
exactly.
also symbolic of in our cases, sometimes you're in a situation which is nerve wracking. No, you're utterly helpless. I was put into a situation like this and I dragged on for 3 months. Basically, it was an order I gave to the home center for a piece of furniture which was to make like flower decoration display stand. And it was made of some kind of wood and they charged me 4,600 for it. And I made the foolishness of paying full in cash. You can also opt for cash on delivery. My mother said she will sponsor it as my birthday present. So May 24th, I placed the order. Within 10 days, I started getting messages saying it's arriving. Nothing happened. I called the local representative. He said that the wrong item was sent, so it's been sent back. Then started what is nothing short of a nightmare dragging on for 3 months because I am new to this situation. Firstly, I am new to even online purchasing. I started only a year ago. So this is my first really bad experience. I've had experiences where the wrong item turned up, you return, you lose the money, you give it away, but nothing of this cost value, you know. So then I started, it was utterly frustrating. The local rep kept saying there's a problem with the server, they can't get any information or whatever. And I haven't done so much yelling in my life as I did on the phones. 3 months it just dragged on and on. And I couldn't understand how the system worked because politely people would answer either in the Chennai office or in the Bangalore office and say they will look into the matter. Please hold on. Hope you don't mind. Thank you for being on the line. And then say they will get back to me, and it would never happen. They never got back. So every week I was calling. Then finally we got to a point where I said to cancel the item. No need to wait, just cancel the item. And the cancellation, normally on Amazon you can cancel. If it is a returnable item, it's so easy and the refund comes. This system doesn't allow you to cancel it. You have to raise a cancel ticket and you can't do it. You have to request one of the staff to do it and they can't do it. They have to go to a support team. They called it some team, I forget, some cognitive team or something. And it just dragged on. Then the cancellation, then and finally after some more yelling, and it was, I somewhere at some point it flashed that this can't be happening without a good reason. Either I've been really careless in the way I have been purchasing and wasting money on purchases that which I could have thought before ordering. I would just give it away, give it to friends, give it to the servant, clothes, wrong size, not checking certain points. And that maybe Krishna was trying to give me such a bad taste in the mouth, which he has very successfully done, that now I just dread the idea of ordering anything, even if Amma says, please order one more bottle of that lime pickle, grandma's, hot and sweetened. I dread the idea.
Or
So
it
I
could
think
be also, yeah, that what he said was true. Also, it could be like it's also maybe also reaffirming the idea that if you like, the material, anything that's material would cause suffering at the end. Like to reaffirm that,
absolutely,
to reaffirm the
absolutely,
idea, like because at times like we can become like so good with our spiritual the knowledge, and then suddenly like you don't realize that we get caught up in something, and then you're like later on we'll realize, like this happened to me also. Like I'll get involved in something, and then later on I'll realize that, oh, actually this was like, I always treat all the negative things that happen, like if some negative thing happened in my life, I'll always treat it as like a lesson that Krishna is trying to teach me. Like he's trying to teach me something in this. So
absolutely,
what is the lesson, and then try to figure out, okay, what could be the lesson here, and then stick with that and then go with it. That's what I always do. No.
absolutely. Because what you said to teach me that some these material kind of actions finally only bring suffering, because it had become, I don't know if it was like an escape route, because I was under so much pressure solving and some material issues with the house shift and taking possession of the flat and so on. Also, that many of these items were required. So it had become like, how do you say, not shop till you drop, not like that, but every morning I would have to place some order for me to feel and then to face the day. Now, this whole incident dragging on for May 24th to yesterday, finally I got a message that they have cancelled it, because a cancellation support ticket, that again then ran into more problems, because I started getting messages saying, you've accepted the cancellation request ticket, but please return the item, our staff will come and collect it. So I had to call them and say, what item am I going to return? You never delivered in the first place. So now that then dragged on again. It just dragged on for another 1 month. Finally, yesterday I got a message, your cancellation request has been processed, money will be refunded within the next 7 days. Never mind if that takes long. In between, I went on a group on Facebook called Where in Trivandrum. Like where in Trivandrum can you get this and rent a house and sell a house? I put out my experience with home center and said, the staff speak politely, but it's utterly ineffective and it's so frustrating. So they said, make sure you tag home center to this message. I didn't know how to tag. I mean,
Uh,
frankly, I've yet to figure out how to do that.
that is, I guess you have to put the shift and the at symbol. That's the two number, no? You
So
have to, if you
what do
press
you,
the so it's like the shift button is there, no? Left shift button.
yeah,
So you have to press that, press and hold that along with the number two button, where the at symbol is there. So if you press and
okay,
hold that, then you have to enter their ID, their
I
username.
see.
You have to put that, and then it gets that.
But what if you're working on a phone? Where is the shift and all that is not there
Shift
on the mobile?
shift to
Mobile.
be there in the keypad, no? That when you're like if you're texting a message or something, like if you're going to type a message, then suddenly like you
It is
it'll
there.
like this will come, no? Like this. See, you can see this.
Yeah.
Like
Okay,
here.
I'm just looking. Space
It
bar is there. Space
so
bar is.
yeah, you have to click on this, and here in the mobile phone, it won't be like there won't be shift, but you can the add symbol you can see here.
Ah, yeah, yeah. Add symbol. Okay, okay. I got it. Got
So
it.
just
Add
yeah,
and
just click the add symbol. Yeah.
no, but where do you do this? After you've typed the message and you posted it on Facebook. Like say
So
I
when
posted
you're
it on.
so it's like I'll show you, like I'll give an example. So it's like let's say I type it in the chat. So I'll type like I'll say this was my experience or whatever, and then I'll put at, and then here it's like if I put at, then I'll get one list, like I'll get your, so I put Supriya Chechi like this. Yeah.
Okay.
So it'll be like this something. It'll be like at. See,
Ah,
I'll put the message, and then at the end I'll put at, and then I'll need to know their. They'll have like a, what do you say, like, I guess a Twitter. Like, is it on Twitter or which platform is it on?
Facebook. Your home
Facebook.
center is on
Ah,
Facebook. Home center
so
is
then
on Facebook.
you can just put at,
Okay.
and then just type home center. It will come. I guess it should come like that.
Okay, got it. Because someone wrote from there that make sure you tag them because then they will get active and they will respond. But
Yeah.
eventually, I'm not sure if I tagged or not. But this whole experience lasting May to June, June to July, July to August, that's right, literally 3 months, it's been like such a detox for me that now I dread the idea if I have to order even something for 500 rupees or 250 rupees. I literally dread the idea and don't want to have anything to do with ordering. So definitely, I think Krishna was teaching me something, and why I say, because when few days ago, I think somebody had called from there and said, "Don't worry, we have raised your cancel ticket." At some point, I said, "I'm just going to let it go. I'm not going to do any more phoning and yelling and requesting and complaining. I'm just going to let the whole thing go." And because it's obvious there's nothing I can do. Every other order that went wrong, I could cancel, request a refund, cancel before they shipped it, return an item. I'd learned all that.
Often at times
Oh,
it's mainly in these situations. It's mainly people, they don't necessarily do their job correctly. So they are like, at times they'll, because when you're placing an order in something, then that order gets placed. That there'll be a team handling that. They will have to most likely tell some other team that this order is placed so that they can arrange the product to be taken and put in a warehouse. That will be handled by a different team. Then another team would handle. There'll be all kinds of teams that would handle the process. So then what will happen is that if there will be some miscommunication within that, and
right.
somebody in that within those teams will not do that. Because I've worked in HP, right? So
Correct.
I understand like first hand experience of how that works, and also like so it's usually some people who don't do their jobs properly.
I
So
see.
when they don't do the jobs properly, then these things, like, it's not one person, like it's not like the entire thing that creates the problem, but it's the system is not like, it's not necessarily the system that's at fault, but it's usually like one or two individuals that would have not done their job properly, and
I
because of
see.
that, like everybody, the whole thing just goes out of, because that's why
Mm,
it's important that well, for whatever reason, like it could be that the person who was supposed to do it suddenly resigned the next week and then didn't tell somebody about this,
okay.
or it could be that somebody didn't, they just forgot about it because they like that also happens. Then that's
Right.
again not doing the job. So it's like these things happen all
Can happen. Yeah, I understand.
and you can get like you'll get fired by your boss if for all these things are asked. Like they'll,
Okay.
they'll really screw with you. I mean,
Uh-huh. I know you're in that position now because you're dealing with a major courier service,
no,
isn't it?
yeah,
Amazon Prime?
I'm with Amazon, but mine is not necessarily in that field. I'm more into the HR, so I'm talking to employees, like other employees. I'm not talking to like I don't know talk to customers like that, but
Right.
I talk to other employees only regarding their like their job leave and pay and things like that. I
Mm-hmm.
don't deal with that, but still there is some element of like if you don't do your job correctly, then somebody you will get
Right,
you'll
right.
be known of that basically. So because
And
everything every yeah everyone.
actually, I had a good experience with home center regarding bed sheets, pillow covers,
Uh,
those kind of things. So I thought like it's a big setup, the home center, online purchase store. And then I was told that the problem is that their local outlet here in the Mall of Travancore MOT, they have their lifestyle store. They have an outlet, but they have not yet introduced furniture. Otherwise, because this was a furniture item, they couldn't do anything. Otherwise, if furniture were also covered by them, then I think this could have got sorted out at some level, locally. Local rep did try to help me. Anyway, I think it was a big lesson, and at various junctures, I kind of thought that usually Krishna helps when we are in trouble. He doesn't waste my time. I try not to waste his time. So if it has hit such a wall, obviously he's kind of giving me like a resounding whipping or whatever that I
And
never forget.
it's mostly like most of the times we think that we can like handle all our problems. Like we think that we can solve
Mm,
all our issues and all that, and we don't need anybody's help. So even if that includes that would also but like even if you're praying to Krishna and you're devoted to Krishna, sometimes you'll feel like, okay, I think I can handle this on my own because
mm,
there's that feeling of ego comes in between, right? So
right.
or whatever it could be, like it's that feeling of like no, I can handle this. But then later on, I'll also realize like no, but it's like if I had just like at the start itself said that, I'm just gonna let and see, I'm gonna do this, and whatever the consequences of the act, whatever that happens will happen. Like I make a decision in my job, and I'm not going to think too much about the result of that. Like it can be good, it can be bad, and I'm ready to take the con. I'm ready to face that head on. I'll take it and I'll see what happens. So
Mm,
I think that's what in the story of Draupadi also, which is very interesting because like
sure.
it's like your complete surrender to your like if you think about it, all the other Pandavas, all the big people, all of them are like they all thought that they could handle the whole thing on their own. Like they all thought that that Yudhishthira thought that he could play the dice and win and all that stuff. But Draupadi is the only one who realized that look, I need to surrender myself completely, and then Krishna will come to me.
Mm,
And so she probably
right.
understood what the Gita meant. Maybe she understood all of that before Arjuna understood exactly what the Gita was. Maybe that could have been the case also, because the whole Gita is basically trying to get Arjuna to understand. Hey, look,
Sure,
you have
sure.
this problem. You have to try and figure this out. You have to try and figure this problem out. And Arjuna, for so many chapters, like we are in the ninth chapter now, and whereas Draupadi understood quite easily, I would say, like she just like
Right.
it was just in a moment. She just okay, I have to surrender to Krishna, so I just give up everything and just
Mm,
surrender there. So it's interesting that way, like if you think about it, that the essence of the Gita in one sense is what the action that Draupadi took while that whole
that's
thing
true.
was going,
Absolutely. Yeah.
which is this complete surrender unto Krishna. And
Right, right.
but at the same time, like in Arjuna's case, like he's such a hardened warrior, like he's a fighter, he's not
Mm,
allowed to show any emotions at all.
that's true.
He's not allowed to show expose. So that's why he tells, he tells Krishna, take me to the center of the field, because in one sense he doesn't want his army to see. He doesn't want the other side of the army to see, because he knows that he's close to Krishna, so he doesn't mind being a little emotional there with him. So he goes there and then he breaks down. He's almost crying. And then
Mm,
Krishna's like, "What are you doing? What kind of condition are you in? Like, how can you be
right,
like this?"
right.
And so then that's how then everything starts,
That's
obviously.
true. It's like, as you say, that it takes Draupadi very quickly to the actual essence of the Bhagavad Gita in this disrobing scene. That's absolutely true. It's like what happened with the wives of the Brahmins. The Brahmins were busy doing their homas and yagyas to Krishna, so that when Krishna sent word that they're hungry in the forest and they need some food, the Brahmins missed the whole point, and the pujaris and said they ought not to be disturbed. But the wives got it and they quickly made the food available and sent it back to Krishna Balaram in the as children.
Women are definitely more intelligent than men, because men like if you look at the stories of everything, it's always like men are the ones that end up causing a lot of the problems, and then men are also the same people who are because the problems created by men, it has to be a man that will have to solve that problem.
Uh-huh.
Then what happens is that they create the mess, but they also show that they were the ones who solved it. So
Mm,
in one
right,
sense,
right.
Krishna is trying to tell Arjuna the same thing that basically somebody like Draupadi understood very easily. But it's good in one sense because you're able to like understand in depth, because not everybody again is like Draupadi. There are some. It's not completely like
Sure.
an outfit. There are some people that are not like that. But it's
Mm,
interesting like how just if you get it, then it sticks. You don't have to think too much about it. Like some
mm,
people will say, I don't need scripture. I just need to just surrender myself to Krishna, and then everything is fine. I don't
yeah,
need to think. Yeah.
but that is also confusing in the sense it can be misleading. It's not that we mustn't do anything. That's not true. I don't think we are expected to just sit with our hands tied at the back and say Krishna will supply. And I mean,
Yeah.
that requires a very high level of advancement and awareness and consciousness. I think we have to do our bit, but we have to leave the results to Krishna,
Yeah.
to understand that the results are not in our hands at all. No, it's
Yeah.
because especially with this verse, this issue can also come up that if Krishna is everywhere, then why bother to go to the temple? You see, you can get asked this question. You yourself saying, look, Krishna is saying in 9.4 that I pervade the entire universe. It's just that I'm not visible. So why do I have to go to a temple? Because it's good for us and to engage our senses, the eyes, the sound, ears,
Yeah.
nose, everything by going to the temple and appreciating the deity form of the Lord, smelling the tulasi, hearing the kirtan, eating whatever we get from the prasadam, eyes feasting on the deity and the alankar, contributing for the alankar by taking flowers or whatever. So it's good for us. That's the real answer. Because if Krishna is everywhere, then why should we bother to go to the temple? And this one thing. And the other point here, when he says he is unmanifested, what happens is the Mayavadi commentators create mischief out of this. What they say is when he pervades the entire world and universe, it's like you take a
Brahman.
glass of water.
Brahman.
No, not only Brahman. If you take a glass of water, their logic or the example they give is to take a glass of water and keep pouring a little here and pouring a little there and pouring. In the end, you just get an empty glass. So they create mischief by saying that's the reason that he is unmanifest. There is nothing left to manifest because they bring him down to the level of matter, like a glass of water, and view him as in a material terms. But that's a mistake. He's unmanifested because he is not manifest to everyone, and we need those eyes anointed with the pulp of love. That famous verse. To be able to see him, or as Prabhupada said, it's like you set up a television in the heart, and if you tweak it and repair it and rewire it and you get it going, you can actually communicate with the Lord sitting millions of miles away in the spiritual world. This is because he speaks to you through the heart, or he guides, informs. So that's the reason he's unmanifest, not because he's got depleted by spreading himself all over the world and like the glass of water which is just empty at the end. This, it's crucial that this clarification that Prabhupada gives. See, look at that the paragraph in the purport to verse 4, the second paragraph. Yet one should not conclude. This one, yeah, just
So,
read that.
yeah. Yet one should not conclude that because he is spread all over, he has lost his personal existence. To refute such an argument, the Lord says, I am everywhere and everything is in me, but still I am aloof. For example, a king heads a government which is but the manifestation of the king's
Manifestation,
energy. The
energy.
different governmental departments are nothing but the energies of the king, and each department is resting on the king's power. But still, one cannot expect the king to be present in every department personally. That is a crude example. Similarly, all the manifestations that you see and everything that exists, both in this material world and in the spiritual world, are resting on the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The creation takes place by the diffusion of his different energies, and as stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Visthabhayam idam Krishnam, he is everywhere present by his personal representation and diffusion of his different energies.
Okay, now here again, all right, this is the purport. And here in the second sentence of the same verse, there's no confusion. Because to look at it, it says, all beings are in me, but I am not in them. Now, how can he say he's not in them? Because he's actually there as the super soul. Okay, so this is again kind of food for thought. Why is he saying? Now, why we understand how we understand this strange statement, but I am not in them, is when we go to what I think is the next verse. Yeah, where it becomes a little clearer. You see the next verse? If you, the verse
Yeah.
5, just read the translation.
And yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence. Although I am the maintainer of all living entities, and although I am everywhere, I am not a part of this cosmic manifestation. For myself is the very source of creation.
Okay, and yet everything that is created does not rest in me. What he's meaning, and it's just like he says, I'm not in them, meaning that it's not a burden for him to create and maintain and sustain the universe. Because especially for those of us who are educated in to Western imagery and Western logic, the image that immediately comes to mind is that of the old Atlas bearing the whole world and kind of stooping down. This is from Greek sources.
Mm.
And Prabhupada makes that clear even in the purport. He cites that. So it's, and yet everything that is created does not rest in me, meaning that it's not a burden. It's not as if the whole thing is his big headache. Behold my mystic opulence. So just by willing it or by thinking of something, he's Satya Sankalpa, Lord Krishna. By willing it or by thinking of something, he can make it happen. Not like he has to strive for it and work for it the way you and I have to. Although I'm the maintainer of all living entities and although I'm everywhere, I'm not a part of this cosmic manifestation. He's aloof. He's not affected by the three modes. He's not affected by karma and by natural disasters. I am not a part of this cosmic manifestation. For myself is the very source of creation. Again, the topic will come up that then, if that's the case, in Prabhasha Kshetra, at the end of Krishna's pastime in this material world, why did he allow himself to be destroyed by a hunter who shoots his foot, thinking it to be an ankle? Because it's actually, again, Krishna lends himself to the role. It's not as if he is destroyed by that disaster of mistaken judgment on the part of the hunter. It's not like that. He lends himself to that particular role and that episode because he has to wind up his pastimes. It's that phase is over, and he's going to depart from here. And like they say, the sun is setting and it's going to become so dark and gloomy. That's why the Bhagavatam appears as the rising sun to give direction to people. So Krishna is not affected by anything. Just read that purport, please, this of verse 5.
Yeah, the Lord says that everything is resting on Him. Matstani sarva bhutani. This should not be misunderstood. The Lord is not directly concerned with the maintenance and sustenance of this material manifestation. Sometimes we see a picture of Atlas holding the globe on his shoulders. He seems to be very tired holding this great earthly planet. Such an image should not be entertained in connection with Krishna's upholding this created universe. He says that although everything is resting on him, he is aloof. The planetary systems are floating in space. In this space is the energy of the Supreme Lord. But he is different from space, he is differently situated. Therefore, the Lord says, although they are situated on my inconceivable energy as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I am aloof from them. This is the inconceivable opulence of the Lord.
Okay, because
So,
he is there and he is not there in that sense. Okay, he is everything rests on him and yet it's not a burden. It's like lighter than a feather for him. In the there in the following the following paragraph, I'll just get straight to that sentence. This is 1 2 3 4 5, about 5 sentences, 5 lines down in the next para. In this way, the personality of Godhead is to be understood. That is, we may think of doing something, but there are so many impediments, and sometimes it's not possible to do as we like. But when Krishna wants to do something, simply by his willing, everything is performed so perfectly that one cannot imagine how it is being done. The Lord explains this fact. Although he is the maintainer and sustainer of the entire material manifestation, he does not touch this material manifestation. Simply by his supreme will, everything is created, sustained, maintained, annihilated. There is no difference between him, his mind, and himself. Therefore, he's called, there's this name to describe him called Satya Sankalpa. Simultaneously, the Lord is present in everything, yet the common man cannot understand how he is also present personally. He is different from this material manifestation, yet everything is resting on him. So this is called Yogam Aishwaram, not Aishwarya, but Yogam Aishwaram. That is mystic. Yoga basically means something mystic. Aishwaram is from that word Aishwarya, but this is a derivative, so it is like his mystic opulence. This is his mystic power, how he can do such things. And in the following, the next verse, sixth verse, nice analogy is given. Look at the translation. Just read the translation, Kanan.
Yeah. Understand that as the mighty wind blowing everywhere rests always in the sky, all created beings rest in it.
Okay. Understand that as the mighty wind blowing everywhere rests always in the sky. So the mighty wind has a lot of, I mean, it's, remember Krishna, Arjuna had mentioned that it is easier to control the wind than to control one's own mind, and therefore he said he doesn't want to do dhyana yoga, ashtanga yoga. Those were the one of the reasons he gave for rejecting that whole system. Rest always in the sky, all created beings rest in me, meaning the wind is free to blow in, in a terrifying way. It's nowadays in this season it just goes howling past the corners of this building, and sometimes it seems unnaturally strong, but it is still contained by the sky if you look at it like an overturned bowl. So in the same way, the wind is very powerful and yet it is contained. So similarly, and the purport, as Krishna is saying, for the ordinary person it's inconceivable how the huge material creation is resting in him. But the Lord is giving an example. The sky may be the biggest manifestation we can conceive. And in the sky, the wind or air is the biggest thing in the cosmic world. The movement of the air influences the movements of everything. But although the wind is great, it is still situated within the sky. The wind can't go beyond the sky. Similarly, all these wonderful cosmic manifestations are existing by the supreme will of God, and all of them are subordinate to the supreme will. Just as the wind has to obey and be submissive to the containing force of the sky, which is arching over it like an overturned bowl, similarly the cosmic manifestation has to obey the will of the Lord. Not a blade of grass can grow, move without the will of the supreme personality. Everything is moving under his will. By his will everything is being created, and still he is aloof from everything, in the same way that the sky is aloof. The sky doesn't interfere with the movement of the wind, but the wind can't go beyond the sky. It's like that.
So it's basically so this verse says that
Yeah,
Krishna is inconceivable by any kind of imagination that you try to put kind of you try to imagine Krishna in any way what it could be, it's inconceivable. Like if everything is resting on him,
yeah,
then there's no point in spending time trying to think what that could be, because that's like a mental speculation and trying to figure out
yeah,
what that
yeah,
could
yeah.
be, what is the form that it is like you'll be wasting time in that, I guess.
because because the only way he can be manifest is, as they say, if you develop a loving relationship with him.
Hmm.
He is visible only to those eyes that are anointed by the pulp of love. Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena. This is a verse from the Brahma Samhita, which Lord Chaitanya discovered on a South Indian tour, Praise of Lord Brahma. So it's that only with eyes that are completely smeared, we smear kajal, but instead, if, or this koil, but instead, if they are smeared with the pulp of love, then those eyes begin to see the Lord. They literally speak to the Lord, see the Lord, interact with the Lord. So that's what's required. Otherwise, it's not possible to see him just by academic efforts or by mental speculation. And so many things that happen seem so inconceivable actually. For instance, and there's no real final answer. It's remember some time ago you were talking about Ekadashi, and it is, yeah, it's considered a very auspicious day, especially in the Vaishnava tradition. For a lot of um, advanced Vaishnavas, it's like the ultimate glory to die on Ekadashi or to die on one of the big festival days. Right. Now, death still you can't really do anything about. It's not in your hands. A lot of devotees try to make it happen that their children, especially if it is cesarean section, C-section, that the children are born on a festival day, born on an Ekadashi. If they have some leeway to maneuver, somebody is told that your child is due anytime this week, and in that week, say, is Janmashtami. So, they try and make it happen like that. They opt for a cesarean section, and yeah, sure, the child is born on Janmashtami. Someone else, you come across cases, they don't know what the meaning of Janmashtami is, but it so happens they were born on Janmashtami in a particular
Mm.
year. So it's
My
inconceivable, you know.
my friend actually is born on August 18th. So Janmashtami is 19th, but he's from Kerala, so like it's like the 18th is the day in Kerala where they celebrate Janmashtami, but he like Krishna Jayanti. But I mean, he's not from a family that is. He's a Hindu, but he's not from from
Yeah,
any devoted
religious.
religious
Ah,
like that. But he's born on 18th of August, which is like you can consider that as also, I guess, maybe Krishna Jayanti, I guess.
no, the thing is, Kanan, what I meant was it has to be, it depends which year he was born. Every year, Janmashtami is not on August 18th or 19th. It can come
Okay.
in September, it can come later in August. In whichever year that baby was born, if it so happened to be Janmashtami,
So
it's
he would have
normally
been in,
considered a great thing.
he'd be
You
in
have to go back to
93,
that. You have to go
93
back.
then.
Yeah, you have to go back and check date of Janmashtami 1993 or whatever. So if I'm talking of babies who are actually born, so many births take place every day.
Mhm.
So there's so many across the world who are born on Janmashtami, or at least in India where Janmashtami is on a particular date according to the Panchang. But those babies often are born into situations that they grow up and they don't even come to know what Janmashtami is or what Krishna is. So this is really part of his inconceivable or mystic opulence. Why did he give away so easily that particular great blessing if that child is not to open its eyes and ever come to know? I know someone who was religious in a way, but she was not any very great believer, and then suddenly she passes away on Ekadashi. And I know another lady here who passed away recently on that on Vaikunta Ekadashi, and they don't know. Not everybody can relate to or tune in that easily to the importance of Ekadashi. So these are in some way an extension of his mystic opulence, because it's inconceivable. We can't understand why he's doing it. To give it away, like you give away a free lottery ticket to someone, and then the person goes through an entire life, maybe not even coming to know the value of what they have got. It's not being able to draw from that source for support when rough times come. This is a lot of this, many things that we can't understand. Why someone who wants to do so much for the Lord is not really given the opportunity. Someone who's just been a vast wastrel and a scoundrel suddenly find. This is particularly the case with foreigners who are trying to come to India and to visit the Dham. I know a family, they've been devotees for very long. I don't know if it was the country they were coming from that was not giving them a visa to come to India. I'm not sure. They didn't have the money. But it's years and years they had to wait. Someone else who doesn't know how to spell the word Mayapur suddenly finds themselves in the Kolkata airport. Somebody shoves a pamphlet and says, "Why don't you
Hmm.
take a taxi and go there?" And they just end up there.
There's
You
that
know,
story of, I think this one. I don't know if he's a devotee. I think he was a devotee, but he's still. I don't know if you heard of Edwin Bryant. Have you heard of him?
sorry,
Edwin
who do you
Bryant.
mean? No, I
Edwin
haven't.
Bryant. You haven't
Edwin
heard of him?
Bryant. Ah,
Yeah,
that is the secular name for one of the regular.
yeah.
Yeah.
He
So what?
he actually he had a story like this. Like he kind of I think I heard him say this once, where he said that he just when he was from England and he traveled to India,
Yeah.
and he was initially he had gone to the south and he was like in some bus in the south. Suddenly, like he was in the north somewhere and he got lost and then didn't know where he was, and then he by mistake landed in Vrindavan. And so when he landed in Vrindavan, like he
I
just
see.
for 5 years he was like trained in that ISKCON sort of setup. He was trained there, and then he left
Okay.
after that. So then after
Okay.
that, but I think, but he's still like, I'll show you maybe like
I just
his,
looked him up. I looked him up on Google. This is him,
yeah,
Indologist, professor of religion,
yeah,
Vedic
correct,
history, Krishna
yeah, this is him.
tradition.
Yeah, he's like a scholar type basically, and
Yeah.
he's into, I mean, he's part of the Bhakti movement,
Hmm.
and
But from
like
an
he
academic angle, right? Academic.
slightly, yeah, correct, slightly academic. So he's like, Garuda, Garuda Prabhu, no, that
Yeah.
Grand Shri.
I do. Yeah,
So
I do.
he and him are like that. They're basically in the bhakti. They believe in the bhakti conception of Krishna consciousness like that. And but they're more academic oriented. He did an interview with Vishnu Sages also,
He
and
did an interview with him. Uh-huh.
yeah, this one,
Okay.
like 1 year back something. That's how
Mm,
I got to know. And then he's done a lot of other interviews where he talks about
right.
different things
But you're
on the
saying
Bhagavad Gita.
basically he was able to live in Vrindavan for 5 years. He just somehow landed there. That's
Yeah,
what you're.
he somehow landed like that, and then he became like a monk. He was like a monk for 5 years, and then after
Uh-huh.
that, then he just then I guess then he had to. I think then he was teaching English to make money in this Middle East and other places, and then I think he did his doctorate in something about like Indian religion or something. He did his
Uh,
doctorate on that, so I think he has a PhD also. Um,
okay. Right.
yeah.
Actually, similarly, though we lived in Delhi for 22, 25 years, it never crossed our mind to go to Vrindavan. I don't know why. We went to Mathura. My brother arranged it to go to see the jail where Krishna is said to have been born and so on. We went to Ayodhya. We went to, of course, Agra Taj Mahal and so on. But we never went to Vrindavan. It's just such a strange twist that finally I had to come back and relocate here in South India to be able to be to part of a group to go into Vrindavan and then went back several times. My parents used to go every year for 4 5 years. So
Sometimes it depends on your
I don't know.
it depends on the current condition, the situation you are currently living in, and also like what is important to you at that time.
Yeah,
It's not necessarily like going to Vrindavan maybe, or maybe it's like at that time what is important is going to the other places. And so like even like right now, what would be important would be maybe going and seeing places that you can like have access to right now.
that's
when
true.
you when you have the access, you can probably go to Vrindavan. Like this is even like the story of I was reading this thing about Chaitanya Charitamrita yesterday, and
Uh-huh.
funny you mentioned this because in Chaitanya Charitamrita there's this part in the Madhya Leela, in one of the chapters where Chaitanya Prabhu he wants to go to Vrindavan so bad. It's so ironic you talk about Vrindavan earlier. So he wants to go to Vrindavan so badly, and Ramananda Rai and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya they're
Right,
both like purposely like extend his they want him to stay in Bengal, and they
right.
purposely like make him like extend his stay there. So they'll make up some excuse that that it's raining, you can't go, you go attend this festival and finish that festival and then go to Vrindavan, and then that so like that they extended for 2 years, and he's like so in one sense, I don't know, like it's a very it's like very naive, like in one sense, like he's
Yeah.
so he like, yeah, they're doing it for the best of me and all. But then 2 years go, and then he realizes that these people are playing tricks on him. And so then he's okay now. Then but he doesn't say that, "Oh, I'll just leave." He gets permission from them, and they don't want him to go because they love him so much. But he very politely says, "Can I leave?" Because I want to go to this place. And then finally he goes. And so it depends on like even that also shows that it depends on the so, like it's not going to be so easy to just like even
Mm.
if you want to go also so badly, something will force you to stay back and do whatever you have to do.
In his case, I think the reason why they were preventing him from going is because I think they'd given their word to his mother
Ah,
that as long as he stays in Bengal and that Puri area, at least some news of her son who had turned a sannyasi will keep reaching her to reassure her. Because those we are talking of days 500 plus years ago where there was no communication apart by word of mouth, no postal service, nothing. So if it was within Bengal, somebody, some wayfarer, traveler would come from wherever Lord Chaitanya was performing his pastimes, come to Bengal where she was placed, Nadia, to give her some news. But if he were to go off and camp in Vrindavan, which he does do eventually, then it is very hard for her to get any news. I think this was also a consideration. And I know there's a stage where he goes into so much ecstasy in the mood of separation that when he sees the ocean in Puri, they convince him that this is the Yamuna. Do you remember that in Chaitanya
yeah,
Charitamrita? and he
Yeah,
believes
he
it.
yeah he
He
believes
jumps
it.
into it. He jumps
Yeah,
into the ocean,
he's in
and
complete ecstasy. Yeah, and
yeah,
I think yeah, I remember that.
and the fisherman kind of thinks this is some strange new big fish or something and bails him out, in a net.
Yeah.
It's all these kind of uh, extraordinary, amazing, and one doesn't know what to make of it. These kind of things happen. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
It's they're like I think that's what it I think he only says it somewhere that that if you have to be like Krishna consciousness is like you have to be mad. You have to be like almost mad in a state of
Mm.
madness. Like you have to the only way you can exhibit it is like the story of Jada Bharata is also there, right? When he's like mad, like he's completely mad about Krishna and he just jumps and he does all kinds of he doesn't care about what society thinks of him, which is what I actually like that thing about Jadabharata, which is like he doesn't care what like he's like he's beaten and he's like things are thrown on him and he's treated so badly and all that, but and at the end of it all he's just like I'm just going to I don't care what anybody thinks. I only care about Krishna and and he does all kind of mad things just to he does mad things he'll dance, he'll jump around, he'll sing in Krishna and he'll do all these things that like if we do it in public people will think we are mad and we might think, oh, what's wrong, they're judging me or something like that, but
Right.
him doing it like or somebody like of that level or like if Prabhupada did something like that, like if he was dancing and jumping, like if you're with him, then you could probably dance and jump around on horse. But like you need somebody of that level to
One
go
minute. This
crazy.
is Jada. This is Jada Bharat you're talking about?
Jada Bharat, I think.
Because
Uh,
no, Jada Bharat often also acted as an idiot to
yeah, that's what.
save himself. He
Yeah,
didn't want to join mainstream life, didn't want to
yeah.
be married off and have family. So he
I think
acts like a
it's that
complete idiot.
it's a story. It's the thing is there's one more character in that Bhagavatam, but I'm not sure of the that name of that character also. I mean, they both did similar things. They
Okay.
both are a little mad, but his name was Bharat or something like that.
Okay, we'll check it
Where
up. We'll check that up.
yeah, I need to check that. But yeah, in that what he does is basically he kind of forces him like he's left everything. He was a king or something like that. Then he leaves everything and then he goes into this house and like purposely he doesn't want people to like come near him. So he'll put all kinds of stool and urine on his body and all that stuff to try to like get people to not come near him and so that he
Uh-huh.
can
No, no,
afterward
this is not Bharat. This is no,
what was the
this
name of
I
it?
Parshana Bharat. It's something starting with P, which also has Bharat. That is a
Yeah,
character
that's
who
what I was
has,
wondering. That's
yeah,
what
yeah.
I was getting confused. Jada Bharat and
Parshanubhava, a name like that. He's suddenly wakes up that he's wasted so much time in material life and family life. 1 minute, let me check. Okay, never mind. Just
yeah.
that it is not Jada Bharat because Jada Bharat's
Huh.
attitude is different.
Hmm. But Jada Bharat also has some like inspirational things about him where he's like
Yeah.
he's got like some good things where he's um just the idea like doesn't care about what other people think about him
Yeah,
and
also because he realized that his previous life he wasted by becoming a deer, and that he
uh,
became a deer because the life even before that, the lifetime, he got attached to the baby deer. So he's so conscious of the mistakes he's made that he doesn't want to lose one more lifetime,
yeah.
to achieve perfection. Yeah, these are fascinating stories. Like you said, they don't care, and basically, when Lord Shiva is like that, he's unconcerned what society thinks of him. What it's like.
There's this prayer of Lord Shiva in the Bhagavatam, in the
Yeah.
fourth or the fifth canto, where he's praying to he's praying to Krishna, and it's these like Lord Shiva's prayers to Krishna, and it's actually quite like beautiful. Like I don't know which
Which
one was it in fourth canto, Brahma Saraswati is talking, where he's talking with the Prachetas, like the Prachetas
Okay.
they are walking in the forest and they see Shiva. And
Uh-huh.
it, okay, this is the fourth. Okay, so it must be in the fifth canto then. Let me see if there's anything. What's the Jada? Oh wait, so
Shiva.
so this is Jada Bharat. Okay, so Bharat, no, not this. It would be then in the fourth canto then. First, okay, Vicky Vena and yeah, this all this talks between
See this
Krishna.
Prachina Barhi. This character you look up, King Prachina Barhi. I think
Prachina Bari. This one talks between Narada and King Prachina Bari.
he is likely the one that you're saying, also with a name that sounds like Bharat, who acts strangely.
Hmm. So here, I think it's in this one. Yeah, so as soon as the partakers of Lord Shiva, they immediately offered their obeisances in great amazement and fell down at the lotus feet of Lord. And
Yeah.
then it's in this chapter where, yeah, he says these prayers. Lord Shiva addressed the Supreme Lord with the following prayer: O Supreme Personality of God, all glory is unto you. You are the most exalted of all self-realized souls. Since you are always suspicious of for the self-realized, I wish that you would be auspicious for me. And you are worshipable by virtue of all the perfect instructions you give. You are the super soul, therefore I offer my obeisances unto you as a supreme deity. So like this is like long prayer that Shiva gives to Vishnu or Krishna. Like at the end he says something about I think he talking about the thing is black. The Lord is super excellently beautiful on account of his open and merciful smile and his sidelong glance upon his devotees. His black hair is curly and his garments waving in wind appear like flying saffron pollen from lotus flowers, his glittering earrings, shining helmet, bangle.
Mhm.
So, and then ways of the bodily ornaments combine conch shell, disc club, and lotus bud increasing national beauty of the costume of pearl on his chest. So, like that, he goes on and he's describing Lord
Okay.
Krishna
Right, right.
and the end, my dear Lord, those who desire to purify their existence must always engage in meditation upon your lotus feet. As described above, those who are serious about executing their occupational duties and who want freedom from fear must take to the process of bhakti yoga.
Mm,
And he gives us long, like he gives long prayer, like almost 20 verses, I think, like
okay.
from
Glorifying the Lord.
yeah,
Uh,
the
you know,
fourth
in
canto.
okay, thank you. In the Mayapur, in that video, which I love Mayapur, I think they briefly showed a place with strange looking Jagannath deities.
Hmm.
That Rajapur, they spelt it Rajpur, but actually it's Rajapur, 6 kilometers from Mayapur. And there they started by showing a deity of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu standing and a Devi worshipping at his feet. That is Parvati. She's called Shimantini Devi, but it's basically Parvati, Lord Shiva's consort, who is uh, directed by Lord Shiva himself to go and get the blessings of Lord Chaitanya in order to get salvation. And that, Krishna has come as Lord Chaitanya in that dham in West Bengal, in that region, and that she must somehow go there. And actually, there is a saying that there is a episode or story where Parvati Devi is puzzled why Lord Shiva is in so much ecstasy after eating just one grain of some Mahaprasad that someone gives him. And then Lord Shiva directs her to go to Lord Chaitanya, whose Mahaprasad it is. That is, it was offered to him, eaten by him, and then the leftovers are passed down. So she is puzzled. How can it be that just eating a very small portion makes him so ecstatic and in such bliss? And she says, I can't, this can't be explained to you. You personally go there and seek his blessings and fall at his feet. So that's that particular deity that they installed about 5-6 years ago in Rajapur, of Lord Chaitanya standing, yellow form, and at his feet is Shimantini Devi, that's none other than Parvati Devi. Actually, today is the day, that is the day after Janmashtami, is when Srila Prabhupada was born. Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
His birth in in the year that he was born in 1896 was took place in on the day after Janmashtami, and it's celebrated all over ISKCON. Here we made some special, like Srila Prabhupada was known to be fond of kachoris. It's something like a samosa. So I made it, and my mother offered it in the puja room in the afternoon. Then she made some other things. And in ISKCON temples today evening also, we are not going. because it's too far, but it will be observed like that. It's Srila Prabhupada's appearance day, or the day he was born in. So because it's 6:20 past now, we'll stop here, Kanan,
Yeah.
and we will resume the next class from this verse 6. Just keep it in mind, verse 6, chapter 9, verse 6. Okay, is that all right? And
Yeah. Oh, was we have to continue 6 or
we have to
I think, or did we finish?
we've
Then we did
almost
one paragraph.
finished. Yeah, we've almost finished verse 6. There's a paragraph that describes the movement of the sun, which is considered. If we pick up from there, then we can move on easily. Next class, we can move on easily to the next verse. That's what I meant.
Okay, okay.
All right. Yeah.
Sure.
Shall we stop here?
Yeah.
Okay. Jai
And
Srila
just,
Prabhupada.
Jai Shri Ram, Hare Krishna,
Hare
and
Krishna, Hare Bol.
hope everything is fine. And Krishna blesses us.
Yes, yes. Hope so too.
Yeah. I'll stop the
Yes.
recording. Yeah.